So for this module, we looked at games and simulations in the classroom. Both methods very engaging. Both methods are very good for that type 1 learner that needs to experience new concepts. But like all the methods that we've looked at thus far and the future methods that we will be looking at, both require some upfront teacher preparation and detailed thought. So as we go through this video slide summary, it's really not just about simulations, even though the title suggests using simulations. It's about simulations and games. So if you look at this particular slide, you'll see the bullets that, and I'm, as with every method, I try to give the benefits and the drawbacks or challenges with that method. The big thing to remember, I think, with both games and simulations is to process that learning experience. Too often, students will experience something that was fun in the classroom, but the processing was limited, so the learning was limited. Now, how and when you process obviously is the prerogative of the teacher. With a game, if it's something that they're actively and kinesthetically involved in, you probably won't be able to process until the very end. But you want to do it quick or relatively soon after the game ends, then not have some sort of disconnect between the ending of the game and, like for instance, even a day to try to recapture what they were experiencing even a day after they played the game is going to be a difficult challenge for the teacher and the students. Same thing with simulations. Simulations are something that you probably could, process during the simulation, but maybe not. Maybe you would rather do that at the end as well, but just remember to do the processing. It's kind of like the trust fall in summer camp. Everybody does it, and then they forget to talk about trust. And so it was a great experience that we all enjoyed doing, but we don't know why we did it. Same stuff happens in the classroom if there's not processing involved. Some of the common, I think, simulations that are used in the classroom, mock trials, I think those can be done at all levels. I remember seeing an elementary mock trial of Goldilocks, for instance, and breaking and entering. Was it justified that she can, and maybe explaining some basic common law rules and due process rules with our own legal system. Nothing too advanced, but certainly something that allowed students to think and engage. Mini skits, scripted skits versus open skits, kind of like the inquiry guided versus open. With younger audiences, obviously, you would probably do more of a guided script. That way they could follow along. But, there are different games for K through 3 than there are 4 through 6 as compared to middle and high school. But that's something that is much more prevalent today than when I certainly first started teaching, is we had games, and I mentioned in the game audio that I'd used Risk before in teaching World War II and World War I. It'd be a great tool for teaching, or game for teaching any war for that matter. But now there's so much technology. I always joke around, and I'm not sure I'm not being truthful here. If the first teacher that figures out how to bring the Wii or Xbox into their classroom and use it as a teaching tool was the gold star teacher forever. And there's probably more truth to that than joking. But it's got to have the processing involved. Don't leverage the game. Don't overdo it up front. Just like inquiry, don't teach the message right out of the experience. And I think that's very key for teachers. Is we feel like we have to be the sage on the stage and go in and even as we set the game up, sometimes we make the mistake of saying, hey, here's what you're going to learn, here's what you're going to think, and here's what you're going to do. And so it's kind of like telling them, here's the ending of the movie before you go in, enjoy, and it kind of blows it for them. Particularly, like I say, the type 1, they don't want to know. They want to experience it, and they want to process it later. So those are some things to consider as you use games and simulations in your classroom. 2 things to consider as you are using both games and simulations, and I would consider these challenges. As with every one of these methods, you can see where it can become time-consuming. And I think it is time well spent as long as the teacher has spent the time enriching it through the content. If there's not processing, if there's not conversations, I mean, you'll have, what we like to call in teaching light bulb moments. You'll have a ton of them if the processing and the games are well done. If not, then yeah, it's going to be a huge waste of time. Again, you'll be the fun teacher, but you might not necessarily be the effective teacher. And then there's that element of relinquishing control of the learning to the student. Now, I think every educator says, well, that's highly effective if we can do that, if we can relinquish the learning to the student. But we also know that if students are not conditioned to be responsible with their learning, then we have a behavior issue. And then we wind up leveraging the game and simulation against the student. Oh, well, if you can't sit down and be quiet, we're not going to play this. And that's just not the purpose of the game. The game's not a reward. The game is the lesson. So we have to remember that as we continue to move forward and use these. But it's like any of the methods. You're going to get better as you use it. And you're going to find different, more effective and efficient ways to use it. And the one simulation that didn't work the first time, you go back to the drawing board and figure out how you can refine it. Maybe provide more structure up front. Maybe not talk too much about what they will learn or whatever. You'll know your classroom, and you'll just get better as you do this. So, I encourage you, think about it. Think about how to use games. Think about how to use simulations. As with every method, they're only effective at certain times, at the right time. You can overuse them. So, as you experiment with this, I encourage you to be creative. Have fun with it. Teaching, we join this profession to be creative and fun. And these are some of those opportunities that we have to be able to do that. So good luck with your games and simulations in the classroom.